Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very special edition of Rooster Teeth Podcast. This week, we're joined by Mr. Burnie Burns,
Hello.
Matt Hullum, CEO, Gray Haddock, supervising producer, and Gus Sorolla, as usual.
And I don't know. There's some of you, I'm sure, that are watching the podcast who might not read the website or might not follow us in various forms of social media. But for those of you who weren't aware already, last Thursday, our dear friend Monty Oum had a simple medical procedure, and afterwards he had an extreme allergic reaction. He lost consciousness, and over the course of the last week, he's been hospitalized. He did not regain consciousness, and we are very sorry to say that Monty passed away yesterday, Sunday, February 1st, at about 4:34 in the afternoon. And so last week we missed the podcast. We did not have a live edition of it. We showed the PAX panel because we were dealing with this crisis at that time, but we weren't yet comfortable enough to really talk about it publicly because when Monty lost consciousness, he didn't really have a chance to tell us what his wishes would be. So we wanted to respect his privacy as much as we could. That being said, if we missed 2 podcasts in a row on Monty's behalf, I don't think Monty would have liked that very much.
I don't think he would have.
No, I don't.
Despite the fact he, didn't feature regularly on the podcast, he was here most Mondays, mooching pizza or watching off on the sides over here.
Or he would be in his office, and as he always did, he always was watching something and making something at the same time. That was kind of his MO. And he'd have the Rooster Teeth podcast on, and then he would stop to make sure to tweet at me that we'd already talked about this or tell me in a way that I was wrong. But he also had suggestions when we were looking for something to talk about. Monty also had suggestions all the time of talk about this or do that as well.
A couple stories that I heard in the last week, which explained so much. Apparently, in their household growing up, you couldn't leave him unattended with electronics because you would leave the room and then come back in. Whatever it was disassembled. So you could just kind of figure out how it worked. There was another one which apparently he had a tendency to run around unclothed quite a bit as a kid, which now I get why he was running around all the time here wearing nothing but the mocap suit day in and day out.
That was
that was his mode.
There was a period when he first got that mocap suit, and he was so excited about us having mocap in the office that I don't think he took the suit off for like 5-6 days straight. I don't know what was it, Jack. It was just like, it was the suit had its own baked in Monty essence by the end of that week.
That was
he would go to the coffee shop and restaurants just down the block with the balls on. It was just like he lived in that suit.
We'd see on the monitor just like this 3D model eating a sandwich drinking down the block. We knew Monty was working. That was probably one of the harder moments that I've had in this past week was I came back in here and his mocap suit was hanging on a hook on the back of his door, and that was a tough moment for me to see that because I'm not used to seeing that thing inactive.
You talk about how his sleep cycle was different, and
The Men in Black sleep cycle is.
I remember once at Ralph Albonado, we were down there, and it was before the studio was fully fleshed out. It was still kind of empty.
Ralph Albonado was our last studio.
Right, it was at the old studio.
Place where we were like 3 years for the last 3 years.
I needed to have a meeting. We were doing planning for RTX 2012, I think, and the meeting room, the conference room was taken, and so I said, well, let's just go meet out in the warehouse space. I don't think there's anybody in there. I peeked in, there was no one there. So I sat down at a table to have a meeting. And we're like halfway through the meeting, and I adjust my feet, and I feel something under the table.
Uh-oh.
Like, what the hell is that? And then you look under the table, and Monty was curled up, taking a nap. Like, I guess he was on his off cycle from his 30-hour shift, and he had just, decided to, take a nap there right by his computer. And I was like, we've been having this meeting for 15 minutes, and he hasn't stirred. He's just out. I was like, we got to go somewhere else.
Normally, you just have to peel him off of his keyboard. He's just sort of, passed out right at his workstation.
What is your absolute favorite Monty Oum efficiency tip of all time?
Well, the microwave. It's got to be.
It has to be the microwave.
So for people who don't know the microwave, it's if you have to put something in the microwave for a minute, instead of hitting 60, you hit 55.
Right.
Because it's one number and it's pretty much a minute.
It started first. He said first he would put in 100. Then he realized he could just put in 60, and that was faster because it's only 2 digits. But if he hits 55, it's the same thing.
That extra second that you would take to move your hand to hit the different keys was too much repetitively.
I think there was another layer too where he'd go 5-8, and he could do like in a row.
Yeah, it was like if he could figure out with his digits, like what was the best way to
make his way
so
down to the enter button or the
He was so obsessed with the efficiency stuff. Like the last time he was over at the house, like I was washing dishes and he was like, I was talking, he's like looking at me and I could tell he wasn't paying attention to anything I was saying. He was just looking at the sink. And after a minute he goes, "Your sink is not very efficient." And I was like, "What? How can a sink be more efficient? It's just like a bowl with the hole and there's not much to it." And he was like, I can find a way. I'll make you a better sink.
I'll make you a better sink. Is that what he said? He'll 3D print you a sink.
He'll 3D print me a sink.
You know, it's very sad that Monty's gone, but I mean, he accomplished so much in 33 years. I mean, if you think about everything that he's done, the work he did on Rivers Blue, creating his own show, it's loved by millions of people. You know, it's going to be distributed now in Asia by Warner Brothers. It's just amazing. And it's almost like Monty had a sense of, of time, of his limited time because of the urgency that he had in his life, And in a way, his greatest enemy at the end of it all was basically time. Dying at 33 is just such a tragedy, And but he absolutely made the most out of his years and made the most out of like literally every moment. He tried to make it as good as it could possibly be. And on a smaller level, whenever we were working on projects, it was always time was the factor of like this has to come out. I want to make it bigger and better, bigger and better, bigger and better. And then it's just always time was always the limiting part of it to him.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a couple times we were done. I mean, it's like, a lot of times it's like people just want the relief of the person in charge saying, okay, this is done. It's locked. We're out. Monty's like, I think I have one more scene. Monty, please, we have we need to burn this DVD tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. There's not time for 8 more shots in the sequence that we're talking about. He's like, I think we can do it. And there's like several times that we did it because Monty drove that and said, I want to get this done. And he did, and he got it done.
Some of my most favorite touches on productions from the last couple of years are things that we got in there the last night. Yeah, I mean, like you've got everything planned out. The scene was fine as it is, and then he had one more cool idea, and it's like, screw it. You didn't need to sleep tonight, right? Come on, let's go for it. Come on, pain is temporary, heart is forever. Let's go ahead and knock this thing out
sleep tonight. So
adopt that 30-hour day.
To.
What's wrong with you? Yeah. So,
well, we wanted to come on tonight because, Monty was everything we've talked about tonight. Monty was somebody who really valued, working and really liked doing it. He still did enjoy his life. Some of you are learning for the first time that he was married last year, married Sheena. Didn't talk about that very much publicly, although they were inseparable for the course of the last year and a half. Like I said at the top of the show, if we can miss one podcast for Monty's sake, when we were all at the hospital kind of taking care of him or doing what we could to, but there was no way in hell we could get away with missing 2 on his behalf. There's no way he would have tolerated that. So we do want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. We said it up front, this would probably be a shorter version of the podcast. And I just want to say how much we miss Monty already. Do you guys have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I was a big fan. I was a big fan.
All right. Well, we actually prepared a little video to show you of Monty's work. He's a very bright light, burned for a short time, 33 years, but we love him very much. We miss you, Monty.
Hello, Mr. Monty Oum.
Hello, Burnie. I was very excited about the moment my first scene showed up at a convention. No one had any idea what to expect.
Got a full house from the Ruby panel, RTX 2014.
with Red vs. Blue and Rooster Teeth as a company, there's a lot of things we hope to create to make people happy in ways they wouldn't expect. Red, white, black, and yellow because of Asian.
It's easy to forget to sleep when you're working on something cool. So you just work as hard as you can, and still there's never enough time. So the thing you gotta learn to is essentially let go.
What we end up making is always larger than what we think it'll be. I do believe thoroughly in giving everything you got towards whatever you're doing at the time. My favorite thing this time around was sharing it with everyone else, my colleagues, my friends, who all worked on this project. For the longest time, it was just assumed we ended up here for some reasons that we don't need to think about. But we tend to be masters of our own fate. The only thing that stops us from doing the really cool things is time. And we're in a huge fan culture at the moment, where everything has spawned off of something. If you look at something and if you intend to use it, you have to emulate it, which means you have to understand it. I've landed in a very unique place where if I want to make a costume of something, I can also make the character that it's derived from.
Monty's my favorite person.
He's amazing.
At the end of the day, we're still looking at people and they need to behave like people. As an animator, there are things you need to notice that most people wouldn't be seeing. The most important thing, do this as often as you can, watch movies or watch shows or watch things. Just keep your eyes open. It's a lot of destiny, really. I mean, very few people have the luxury of doing exactly what they want to do as their job. There's never a day where I forget that. Moving forward I always think about what's next. So like, I'm super excited to finish what we have so that I can just start working on something else.